And then the key there is to try to, maintain that balance of creating and maintaining goodwill with also monetizing the database.
How do you go about monetizing the documentary? Because so you release the documentary, people have to opt in to get the episodes. I remember opting in.
Yeah.
It was like a well-produced trailer and everything. It was like, wow, this felt big, right?
Yeah.
I was already into crypto at the time. Already lost some money on crypto, made some money with crypto. Went to the moon and back, and didn't sell at the right time. And all the the only thing I didn't do is I didn't like buy pizza with Bitcoin. I didn't lose my password. That's the only thing that didn't happen
Right.
to me. But every other thing on the checklist, I ticked the box. So I had to give my email address to see it. But what's the way to turn all these eyeballs into money?
Yeah. So it's a two-stage play. The first is selling the docuseries. So people, kind of get confused about this. They're like, okay, so you're giving the docuseries away. What do you sell them? And I'm like, it's the docuseries. So, and naturally that's confusing. So the way it works is each episode is up for free viewing for 24 hours. And then it comes down and the next one goes up. That one comes down, the next one goes up. And so there's scarcity built into that. So if you want to watch it live, like old school TV, like you can just jump in and watch the whole thing for free. But at any time during that process, you can also click a little button that says, get on demand viewing for life or something along those lines. And at that point, they go to your classic, long form sales letter. I think it's actually a mix with like some video at the top and long form at the bottom. And what we did is, you can buy the series to watch it anytime you want. But in addition to that, we bundled in educational resources that are related to crypto. So, crypto income secrets, how to do analysis of different cryptocurrencies, et cetera, et cetera. So these educational info products that were bundled with the episodes in the series itself. And we sold that to people for a one-time fee. And then since this is a marketing, related podcast, there's the one-click upsell. And so, off of the back of that, we did a high ticket upsell. I always like to go from your front end to your high ticket offer first, because even if a lower percentage of people take that offer, it usually cash flows better than trying to get a high percentage of people. Because I mean, if you're selling something for $30 versus $1,000, how many $30 sales do you have to make to get to the same amount of revenue as one person saying yes to the $1,000 offer? So we upsold them straight into a masterclass where they could learn to trade cryptos. And that was a $1,500 price point. And so it was a jump, right? But about 10% of people wound up taking that offer. And I've found that is about the right.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's the right, especially for that kind of a jump. But that's what I've seen over and over again consistently, is that with a well-structured one-click upsell at that $1,500 price point, 10% of people will take it. And so that was the front end monetization. But then on the back of it, you've got a list, a huge list that loves you because you just gave them incredible content. You gave them not just content, but an experience, like something that they could get excited and talk to their friends about and talk to their family about, and they can share with other people. So we created this experience that people loved us for it. And just a side note, we got 30% extra traffic and extra revenue from viral referrals. So that was a significant thing that happens from these docuseries, is when you create an experience worth sharing, people share it. But I digress. So beyond that, you've got this huge email list, and that obviously, as you know, creates just tons of revenue opportunities, internal products, affiliate offers, et cetera. And then the key there is to try to, maintain that balance of creating and maintaining goodwill with also monetizing the database.
Interesting. So basically, it's a funnel where the front end of that funnel is a documentary. And on one hand, you're like putting so much effort into the front end, but it builds up it builds up that relationship capital ahead of time. So if you've got something in the back end, it works. And then you also said that millions came from the back end from just mailing the list. So now that you had a list interested in crypto, did you just keep, do you just keep mailing them with crypto stuff, or do you mix and match? Do you have to mail them with more documentaries, or can you now send them to an ebook? Like, what was the experience like?
Yeah, absolutely. So, it's in many respects, it is just like any other list where if you're providing value, content marketing, basically, giving quality content, then you can talk to them about offers that are within the immediate niche as well as adjacent niches. So, for example, we did like 3 emails a week with like let's say like 3 articles in each one on crypto, and that was our newsletter. And then between those, we did affiliate offers, largely for like the Agora companies. We have a bunch of relationships inside of Agora from working in the industry for years, and so we got your typical crypto offers. But something that kind of was interesting, not interesting, was that crypto just nosedove. Like we launched the series the first month that it started to crash. It was down like 30% over the month before. So if I'd have timed it, 1 month earlier, it would have been an even bigger launch. But hey, those are the breaks. So we were able to monetize it with crypto offers, but at the same time, like the financial publishing industry was down revenue like year over year, like 70% last year. And that was across all aspects, whether that was trading, investing in equities, or crypto. Matter of fact, by the end of the year, most crypto publications had been shut down because they just weren't making any money. And that's certainly, hey, I wasn't immune to those woes. There's certain dynamics that are beyond our control. But we're still alive. We're kicking. We did though, to answer your question, focus on crypto products at first, and then we found that the audience also responded well to stocks and more traditional investments type promotions as well. We tried some health promotions. The list did not like that, and that's not too surprising. But
apparently, those were healthy crypto enthusiasts.
Right. No, I mean, everybody like cares about their money, and everybody cares about their health. So those are two things that it can kind
Health, wealth, relationships, right? The three
right.
most profitable directions you can go with.
Yeah, and you can cross over to some degree into all of them, but sometimes, like when you build a really passionate list, sometimes they'll let their passion be known when you touch on something they don't want you to do.
Yeah, I think it has a little bit to do with my copywriting mentor, Ross Bowring, a really smart guy when it comes to marketing business. He once told me that people so when you sell something, when you appear in front of like a market, they want to put you in a bucket. There's something that you stand for in the relationship with them, and that's what you stand for. For example, I'm known as the solo ads guy. So that was my call to fame. I got famous because everyone in the industry knew that if they wanted to get email traffic, they go to me. And yeah, I can get email traffic, but I was always frustrated for a few years actually, because I can do so much more. And so when we launched the list building lifestyle, I had to put in a lot of effort to sort of not so much distance myself from solo ads, because I've never really distanced myself from solo ads. We still use them, and we still teach people how to use them, and we still, very much use them in everyday marketing. But it's more like, how do I make people recognize that I'm not just solo ads is not what everything that I'm about. I can teach
Right.
them a lot more. And so switching that message from just solo ads to a broader idea of freedom with list building, it took me a while to make that transition. But like you said, as long as it's adjacent to to where they started with you, I think you can make it work. And the experience of people starting in a narrow niche and expanding, or starting in a broad niche and narrowing it down, that's something that happens over time. I've seen, from my own stuff, I start narrow, expand, then narrow it down again. I have lots of friends in the industry who kind of do the same. They start out with, this big sort of broad niche, trying to cast a wide net. Then they kind of learn from their efforts that their best customer is this one particular group of people.
Yeah.
So they niche it down to them, then they get bored with them or something, they niche wide again. But I see what you mean. I see what you mean when you say that you have to pick and choose what you run. And you know um, there's really no way of knowing this for sure unless you were willing to test, which means you
Yeah.
had to be courageous and actually run a health offer to find out.
Yeah. Yeah. And then all the doctors on the list wrote back and told me to please never ever do that again. And I listened, I listened. I've definitely had lists where you could do, you could cross the gamut, you could do them all. But this one, I respect the desire of the customer, and there's some wisdom in that, hopefully, because that's what I did.
Yeah, I would imagine that you could probably send out a few emails and say, "Hey, I'm starting a side list where I'm going to be doing only healthy related stuff. So
Right.
if you're interested in that, you might want to hop in."
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, and even with this, the six figure side hustles docuseries, like I'm sharing it with my crypto list, and there's pretty good overlap there. And the fact that like I'm kind of a unifier between the two topics, because I was, obviously heavily involved in the docuseries, the new docuseries on side hustles. So, that there's just different ways that if you can make the connection in your subscriber's brain, in your list's brain, then like I think that's probably the more important thing.
No, you're absolutely right, and I think that's a great lesson in marketing in general because um, I noticed that there's one commonality for anyone who was able to establish a consistent flow of customers, income, leads, whatever, over the years, and that's usually people who the market identifies as to be known for something, meaning that if you're like a faceless, nameless sort of entity and you stand for nothing, it's harder for you to start making sales than if you are known for something, because that specialty is what's going to give you, a credibility boost early on.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And then we you struggle with the same thing that I struggle with. It's like you don't want to get pigeonholed, and you become one dimensional in people's minds. Um, and then the fact that we're humans, and we're entrepreneurs, which means we like to buck the status quo. It's this interesting dance, that we all go through. It's like, well, like, wait, you want to stop doing the solo ads thing? Like, how many millions have you made from that? You want to change that up? Like, why? Like, because I'm bored.
Yeah, people don't get that. They really don't get. How can you get bored from making money?